Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 20, verses 17 through 28. Now, Jesus is teaching about how the Messiah is the suffering servant. And as they're going down to Jerusalem, he teaches them that the Son of Man, the Messiah, is going to be delivered into the hands of the priests and the Pharisees, the teachers of the law. And they're going to condemn him. They're going to conspire against him and condemn him to death. And then they're going to hand him over to the pagan Gentiles who will mock and flog the very Messiah and then crucify him. And that must have sent shivers through their spines because that was Roman. He's talking about the Romans executing him. And then on the third day be raised from the dead, which they had no clue what he was talking about. And there's no recorded response. So what we can imagine is that the disciples just stood there in stunned silence because they don't know what to make of this. This is not their idea of a Messiah. And that's clear because the next thing that happens is Mother Zebedee asks on her son's behalf if Jesus will do them a favor, a solid, right? Will you grant for my two sons to sit on your right and the left in your kingdom? And Jesus turns to James and John and tells them, you don't know what you're asking for. Can you drink the cup that I'm going to drink? And they, oh yeah, sure, we can do that. And they don't know what they're talking about because they don't understand. And Jesus says, yes, indeed, you will drink this cup. But what is this cup? This cup is the cup of the Last Supper. This cup is the cup of the meal of the crucifixion, right? And it's the cup of the new covenant by which God will give forgiveness to all people. And he says that, the right and the left has already been prepared by my Father in heaven when I'm nailed to my throne. It's going to be for the two thieves. Well, when the other 10 disciples hear this, they are indignant. They're upset. They're not upset because, how dare James and John ask such a question. They're upset because they asked it first. And that's the context because then Jesus has to teach about what it means to be a leader in the kingdom of heaven. He says, in the Gentile world, in the kingdom of this world, that people like to be leaders and they like to lord their power over others. He says to exercise authority. But if you want to exercise authority in the kingdom of God, if you want to be great in the kingdom of God, you must be a servant. To be first, you must be last. You must be a slave. And then he gives himself as the ultimate example. Not to be served, but to serve. And as he says, that the Son of Man came not to be served, but to give his life as a ransom for many. And the church needs to really be challenged by this passage that the leadership within the church and the leadership of the church is to be one of servanthood. And that if you're going to be a servant in the kingdom of God, if you're going to be great in the kingdom of God, you must be a servant. And in fact, willing to give your life so that others may have life. And the work of the church is not for this world. We are to give our life trusting that God has us in his hands to expend ourselves giving the gospel to others. All right. Well, thanks, friends. If you like the content of the Daily Plunge, 3 things. Like it, subscribe, and share. Like, subscribe, and share so we continue doing what we're doing. Have a blessed day, my friends.